The next day, Adam arranged for a guided tour of the planet. The students wanted to show off their projects. He had a good grasp of his people's projects, both official and secret, but not so much with the students. York and Vorts joined, and when he wanted to take the yacht, Vorts chuckled and said no. Adam looked at him confused, as they made their way to a reinforced transport to his surprise. The professors didn't seem to think it was strange, so Adam decided to shut up and not come off too ignorant. The transport took off. It was the size of a bus and quickly rose to the atmosphere where Kanita Sumina, the geologist student, stood up. As you know, we set off the volcanoes to release the gas within. It worked. The atmospheric pressure is now about the level we wish. However, as you know, that also means a lot of volcanic dust and other gases that we don't want being spewed into the atmosphere. The genius part was to select one area. Continent 3, we are working on the names. So while there is some fallout on our side of the planet, we have managed to keep the fallout away from us. We have been using artificial suns by Mr. Wirt, which helped us modify them to create a weak force field that will keep out the dust, but allow the wind to pass. As you will see, we are going high in the atmosphere to let you observe. Adam looked out the window and realized what he had not before. 1/3 of dirt was covered in a giant layer of black clouds. Around the edges, he could see a shimmering field, and he turned to Jork. I didn't know you could do that. Could it cover the whole planet? Yes, but I'm constantly repairing them. They are working on 110% capability and doing something they are not really programmed to do, he replied. I have a few students working on a similar problem dealing with supervolcanoes and the aftermath. I am sure a few would love to help with this project. They can bring their equipment and blueprints. One is working on a prototype to collect and repurpose the fallout, Professor Jardrick said, and Adam turned to look at it. He had rarely heard Jardrick speak, and the Gort had chosen a gender-less exoskeleton. The Gort's was, after all, a gelatin-like creature in need of those suits to move about. Well, as we discussed yesterday, I'm willing to sponsor programs that will benefit the terraforming of dirt. Then he looked at the cloud and back at York. You moved the base building, right? There is no way we can build down there. York wiggled his hand. Just a little, it's on the edge. Harder build, but it's close enough. So what do you want to call this one? They all looked at him as the shuttle divided into the chaos of the volcanic ashes and aftermath of the volcanoes. He saw a few were still smoldering and he chuckled. I think I know. I saw this really old movie, and it was a fantastic one. There was land there, just like this, called Mordor, so let's call it the base. Once it clears up, we can change the name. As they spoke, a giant cube of frozen nitrogen descended into the hellscape, guided by the drones towards a large volcano. Adam looked at Jork. Why? School project. The kids wanted to see what happens. It will melt, but they will get some kick out of it. It's just a cubic kilometer one. Adam sighed, and he saw the professors watching like little children. They probably knew exactly what would happen, but there was something about knowing it was childish curiosity that allowed this to happen. He started to wonder just how many students they would send. Yesterday, they had agreed to build them a base like Pyridas connected to 3 domes, one being a dorm that can hold 1,000 students, 5 kilometers north of Pyridas. With staff, it would be able to hold 1,500 people. He doubted they would fill it up, but they would pay rent for it, a nice little side income. Jork had put a few projects on hold and started the construction. Adam thought about it. It took about 3 months with 10 workers. He had many more now, mostly due to Jork and a bigger crew. The place might be finished within a month if they are lucky. He turned his attention back to the tour as they flew along lava rivers and lands so filled with ash they could barely see 100 meters, flying blind and then stopped hovering over a pole stuck in the ground, as Kanita Sumina explained how their early access had granted them the ability to place these sensors all over the area, just as the second round of volcanoes had gone off. The sensor uses nanotech to dig itself down and allow it to monitor the geological effects of the volcanoes on a completely different scale. They were going to set up a new volcano in a month's time and would place these sensors all around as a grid, as well as monitor it from weather satellites. After exploring Mordor, they left for the south part where they came to one of the small seas that was rapidly growing bigger. They stopped by a half-built base with 3 droids working. The research base was 10-man sized and was meant to be underwater. Miga explained how they were building 4 such bases around the planet on places they knew would be 100 meters below the surface when the poles were finished melting. This would also allow all the oceans to connect and they could start research on seeding the planet. Adam just watched. This was going pretty fast for him. There was so much missing, and the professors seemed to be missing as well. Miga explained that the beginning would be introducing and feeding algae and fertilizing the ocean with nitrogen-enriched soil. Apparently, the volcanoes and the nitrogen from Onyx added to the ground soil allowed them to make fertilizers. It was on a small scale now, but they would be able to industrialize it with more engineers. The goal was to cover 1 continent with this fertilizer and place CO2 transformer around the planet. They could strategically place out 20 of these converters and start to spew out oxygen. The whole process, including building, can take everything from 5 years to 500, depending on how many they can build and at what size. They should also be able to start seeding the sea with small life once the algae has reached a big enough number. That would include a force field and controlled areas in the beginning to safeguard the flora. They did expect several failed attempts until they could perfect the process. Then the ship took off again and set course for the big surprise, and they flew north, where they found a large cave blocked by a force field. They flew through and entered a large cave. Adam saw they had set up a reactor near the door and that some cables were going inside and out of the cave. Inside, they came to a large cave with an artificial sun on the ceiling. Adam realized he should have kept a much more careful eye on the students as they, proud as a little kid, showed off a cave about 100 meters long and 50 meters wide with a small pond and grass on the ground. He thought he saw some bushes as well. Mirna opened the door before anybody could react and fresh air poured in. "This is our little secret experiment. We have done what Adam is trying to do on a small scale, planet size, and it worked, as you can see. Green grass, a few plants, and the pond have algae and actually fish, the smallest we could find. We are going to introduce bugs here later. As you can see, we have monitors attached to the ceiling and 2 drones with a charging station further in." Adam chuckled as he walked around and let the students and professors chat. He just wanted to walk around and check the cave. He walked down to the pond and looked inside as he saw some movement. He looked at the students and shook his head in amazement. "If you want to, then you got a job here when you graduate. I'm very impressed." They looked at each other and then agreed. Yorkel gave them high fives and he realized he had been played. The tour was not for the professors. It was for him. They wanted to stay after they graduated. Professor Jaco congratulated them and Adam just laughed as he got inside. "Let's get back. Tomorrow we have to bring the professors back to the hub and I have to pick up somebody." Adam docked on the hub with the crew and he escorted the professors back into the hub. Rox winked and stayed back. Adam could see Kina, so he asked her to wait before they left. He wanted to speak with them. Then he said goodbye to the professors and Minna, telling her he would drop by the office later as he would stay a few days. The professor was quite excited as he promised to drop by the school before he left. After their goodbyes, he returned to the yacht and called out before entering. He didn't want to interrupt anything, and after a while, Rox came out with a grin as he put on a shirt. "She really likes the yacht. So what can we help you with?" Adam chuckled. "Just a quick update and ask a favor." "Okay, well, she sold for $1 million. You were right. It'll take a few more months before the market adjusts. It should be in the company account, and the trip went flawlessly. Looks like somebody is really going after the pirates in that area. Maybe that friend of yours is making an impact. Well, that's good. Okay, for the other part. You guys are allowed to go back to your homeworld, right? If you want to drop by and pick up some flowers and genetic material, then please do. Now that we will have islands, I want to make one with more Tufan flora and fauna so you can get your Hernsa. Buy the whole genetic sample of the ecosystem system from the Hernsa down to the grass the prey eats, and we can see if we can't get it done. And that island will be a primary Tufan, so we might build a village there. Let's just call them refugees, if you get my drift. I might have one for the Harans later. That's going to cost some credits, probably 10,000 credits. Adam looked at him confused. Yes, and? Rox shook his head as Kina came out. She smiled. What are you guys talking about? He wants us to go home and buy the genetic material for a Tufan island so we won't feel homesick at dirt. Rox said with a grin, and Adam just nodded. Got me. Now go have fun. I have to fix a few things, and I expect I won't see you for at least a month or two. Aye, sir, Keena said, and Rox just grinned. He left them and watched them leave, then checked on Dream. The ship was in great state, and D-06 made itself known, awaiting orders. He told it to wait and monitor his vital signs. If he ceased to exist, to document it, send the documentation to Minna and Dirt, then return to Dirt awaiting further orders unless he gave him new orders. The hub was safe, but now he had grown bigger, and he had to worry about the megacorporation, which might just want to take over the operation. It was a risk to show the plans to Minna. She could betray him to make a few extra credits. He had to ensure she would see him as a better long-term investment. He went to check the goods terminal and saw that the first batch of cargo from Earth had arrived, so he transferred it to Dream. He had barely filled one cargo section with the load, but the droids were the newest on the market, and he knew Vorts would go crazy to play with the cloning machine he had bought. The DNA prints contained over 1 million different samples, everything from plants and bugs to all types of animals. Each sample type came with 30 different DNA strands to ensure variations. He glanced at the different types of entertainment. The kids would love the games, books, and movies he had bought. 500 exabytes of each media should be enough to keep them entertained. He checked the ship again and went to sleep. The next day, he went to Minna for a chat. She greeted him and introduced him to some of her other employees. They discussed different business opportunities and investments he could invest in. One of her lawyers, another Haran named Hartnai, mentioned the slave companies, and Adam just stared at him. Minna explained that while Adam had made a fantastic short-term contract that several of their clients had copied when they wanted to buy free friends, he himself was actually quite against slavery. A beautiful humanoid orange alien with long, silky black hair and golden eyes, which he recognized as a Skisha, looked at him surprised and asked why he had bought so many then. Minna smiled as Adam looked back at her. Her species was one of the most sought-after slaves due to their sensuality. Because I intend to free them all. Even the one with a life sentence? She replied, and Adam nodded. Even them. How? She tilted slightly and could not help but look even more sensual. Now, Miss Jin, do not seduce our client. Minna interrupted, and Adam smiled. He turned to Minna. Look, I don't mind a beautiful lady, and neither do you, my dear Minna. However, I don't mind answering as you already know it. He turned back to Miss Jin, who seemed to blush. It was clear she had not intended to seduce him. I'm human. We don't allow slavery, and we simply do not accept it. When my colony is up and running, we will declare it a slave-free system. Being a human, I can gain Earth support, which would mean any attack on Dirt would be an attack on Earth's sovereignty. I will, at that point, lose Dirt to Earth, and they will appoint an administrator to take my place while I will be jailed for keeping slaves. What? You're going to free the slaves just so you can go to jail? She looked shocked. Adam nodded. Rox will take over the clan and the business in my absence. I will be jailed for somewhere between 10 to 30 years unless I have some good lawyers that can get the case tossed. And if you win the case, do you still lose Dirt? Hartnai asked. If I win, then I become the true owner of Dirt, can choose my title, and control it with Earth's protection. Earth might want a presence here. With any luck, a few human companies will also set up shop here. That's where the opportunities will come. I might be able to interest Ari's company Asterisk to set up at least a shop here. He replied, and Hartnai looked at Minna with greedy eyes, and she simply smiled. Wait, you're willing to risk everything to free the slaves? Tell me, were you born or made? Miss Jin asked, and Adam shrugged. Does it matter? Not really. Well, my people have this legend, prophecy about a stranger from far away that was made. He is supposed to first free his own people, then travel the dark sea until he comes to our land, where he will build a home from nothing and then die to protect the bound. He will be killed, but his mate will bring him back. Then he will face the hammer, and when it strikes, our world will change and we will no longer fear to be bound. It's a kid's tale, but the point is, we have been waiting for that guy for centuries. We call him Jad him. So, I just want to know if you were made, and if you have a mate who is a sort of healer?" She looked at him seriously, and Adam chuckled. "I have no mate, so it can't be me. Besides, if I die, you won't be able to bring me back. I'm just human." She bowed her head. "I'm sorry, it was way out of line." Minna grinned. "What was it that farmer called you?" "Gallios, another legend just because I'm a stranger from afar with strange ideas." Adam smiled at that. "Next, somebody will probably claim he is Casus." Hartnai added, and Minna burst out laughing. "Him, the peace-bringer, the one who finds the path to Hissien?" They all laughed, but Adam didn't get it. "Who is Casus and what's Hissien?" he asked, and Minna smiled. "Our Savior will befriend the universe, and the universe will let him open the door to Hissien. It is where all our paradise worlds are hidden because we did not deserve them. He will wash away our sins and let us pass. Oh, and he will also die for this and be resurrected by the one who loves him the most and pushes him hardest. The galaxy has many such myths, and there is always somebody claiming to be this guy." Adam laughed. "Well, I just want to help my friends. The whole galaxy seems a little out of my reach." "Yeah, so let's get back to business. Human companies on dirt," Minna said. Adam focused on her, and didn't see the look Miss Jin gave him. He spent several more days on the hub talking to the professors and ended up with 25 new students and 3 assistant professors to join him. Before he left, he went to Soshu, the trader, and emptied his stocks again, both to his joy and annoyance, as Adam had not changed and almost gave him a heart attack with his unusual way of doing business. He was about to leave when he walked past the slave pen, and to his shock, saw the new stock coming in, 30 Sisya children and 7 adults. When he went inside, he saw too much suffering, and he cursed himself when he left. He had 150 new slaves. He took the trader aside and told him he had a better offer for him. He was human and could provide human-designed droids that would sell for a much higher profit. He showed him the design of a made droid and sold him on the lack of extra cost with storage. The droid didn't need food or care. The wasser owner was interested when Adam discussed the profit margin. He also noticed that Adam was human, and another human in the sector had targeted pirates and slavers, so the cost of buying them for resale was higher. Adam contacted Minna and drew up a contract. Adam made a few adjustments, and Minna was quite impressed. The man had not noticed that he had sold the company to Adam for the price of the slaves and 1,000,000 credits. The Adam now owned the slave license and the warehouses. Adam told him to keep the pens empty while he worked on restocking the wares. When he finally left, he messaged York about building a droid factory to mass-produce the maid and construction droids. When Adam arrives at Dirt, he gets a message from Mr. Nug, the former slaver. He has orders for 1,000 droids and asks about delivery time. Adam sighed as he looked down at Dirt. Well, at least he is home. He watched in silence as the 3 other ships decedent and a 10 cubic kilometer ice cube of nitrogen were being turned into gas in low orbit. He also thought he saw the beginning of a large satellite with a construction platform. He started regretting letting engineers loose. What the hell would be the next thing those idiots would make him? Ares Company, human arms company known for extremely high-quality weapons. Adam's bodyguard droids are made from them. Vorts and Hara just looked at him as Adam led the newcomers inside, and then Hera started to laugh. "What are you laughing about?" Adam asked as he went over to them and watched as the newcomer was helped. Mirna cared for the students and the old Bilgino priest, whom Adam had completely forgotten for a moment. What was his name again? Masos something. Masis Potter. Yeah, that's who. Then he remembered why he didn't want to think about him. He was the guy behind the damn prophecies speech. He was a nice guy, and his wife was the local teacher, Ara Potter. She was ready to help with the children. "We just wondered what you would bring back this time. What happened?" "I bought the slave pen and changed it into a droid shop." He walked with them as they were first stunned and ran after him. "You did what?" Vort said. "I saw the kids being dragged in and I just couldn't leave it be. But if I buy them, he will think there was a market for them and buy more. So to stop that from happening, I had to buy the damn shop. I kinda tricked him, so now I own the shop and he has 10%. Anyway, I need to talk to York about it. We need a droid factory up and running fast. Where is he anyway? Oh, he is in the admin working on your projects. Vortz replied. So how many did you buy? All of them, 150 in all. It will be you two who have to find them some new jobs. Go over why and let me know if there are any hardened criminals we need to be aware of. Is there anything you might think I would like to know? I saw that at least 15 people came through the court system, but I was too busy dealing with everybody to go over it properly. Beside the one I looked at said eatery life punishment. Shit, eatery? That means they ate somebody. I guess we have to use the jail room this base has. Yeah, go over all of them. I don't want any surprises. Adam replied and went to find York. Wait, you spent a whole week with them and didn't check it? Hera asked. Adam stopped and looked at her. I put the criminals in Hangar D alone with D05, now nicknamed Kusja by the guys, whatever that means, and then I focused on the others. They behaved and watched movies for the duration, so they were not on my mind with all the kids and constant questions from the academics. To be honest, I want to sleep for a few days. I'm dead tired. Kusja? Sounds like the guard of hell in the Haran hell. Was it a Hara who named him? She asked. Yeah, a guy named Sigson anyway. I need to talk to Jork. He found Jork in the admin with Miker on his neck. He walked over and picked up Miker, who hugged him and climbed up on his shoulder instead. Missed me? What this talk about building a droid factory and producing 1,500 maids for shipping? Jork turned to look at him and then smiled. And yeah, we all missed you. Saw you found some more strays. What did you do, emptied the slave pens? Yeah, and if we don't finish and ship 1,500 maid droids and 500 construction droids within a week, they will start filling up again. I don't trust that bastard to follow his instructions. Wait, you bought the slave pens? That must have cost a fortune. Business was down, hard to get slaves, and we are going to use that to make people buy droids instead. Jork chuckled. They will maybe switch into clone droid at the most. They like the fleshy parts, you know. Droids feel too hard. That's one of the reasons we use slaves. Adam smirked and called the new science droid. It looked like a human made out of metal with 2 slits for eyes. Meet SD-1. A metallic voice replied. A pleasure to meet you, sir. Jork looked at the droid and back to Adam. Metal. I know, South Dakota. 1. I would like you to change your appearance, I think, to Albert Einstein. As they spoke, a soft gel was poured out from tiny holes, slowly transforming the metal droid into a perfect copy of Albert Einstein. York stood up, surprised. How does it feel to the touch? You can feel for yourself, the droid replied in a slight German accent, and York looked at Adam confused. Einstein held out his hand and York touched it, then his arm, face, and hair. It feels real. What is this? It's called skin mud. It's an organic plastic that can emulate any type of skin and hair and is very popular on Halloween masks. The best part is that the base version has expired the copyright and license claim, so we can claim it for our maid droid. We just need scans and texture samples, which we really can get here or in media. Yeah, that will take care of most of the slaves' uses. You're missing a big market share. You know, the one they wanted to put Ski and her sisters into. York looked at him, trying to keep it kid-friendly around his son. That can also be scanned and implemented. The skin mud was originally made for those kinds of bots. It won't remove the market, but there will be a significant decrease in it. But there are always some idiots around. Trust me, I know. Adam replied as he looked at the droid. Einstein, you are now the personal assistant to Jork Verk, helping him with developing a skin mud prototype for his design of maid droids. Affirmative, Einstein replied, and Adam smiled and turned to Jork. Now to the factory. What can we use? You guys built something inside that mountain, right? Can you make those tunnels breathable and set up a factory there? Jork thought about it. Yeah, there is a half-finished droid face. Wait, you knew, you bastard. Yeah, I knew, and that's why we can do this. You focus on that one now. You have a week to get the factory up and running. We have 5 new worker droid, the newest model, and I emptied out Soshu's shop again, so that is 20 more low-level construction droids as well. All yours to command and build me that factory. York looked at him. "And what are you going to do?" "Spend time with Micah and have pizza. Then I have a few academic meetings, check on the crops, and give Vort some instructions. After that, sleep." "Pizza, pizza," Micah said, and York chuckled. "I'll get it done. This takes priority, right?" "Yes, as many engineers you need for this. You guys drive me nuts anyway." Then Adam and Micah went to the kitchen to make pizza, which the kids found out about. So there ended up being a lot of pizzas and something new called hamburgers. Adam realized it was too late and should have waited for that. At least the kids didn't find out about the ice cream machine. He had Ski and Hera come to take over the kids' party before heading to the academics wing, filled with life as the new students settled. He found Mir not talking to the assistant professor, and they ended up having a quite boring meeting about the framework of what they could and could not do as well as what they got access to. Their liaison would be Vort's, and then Adam left to find him. Vort's was busy at the admin going over the now growing number of projects, silently cursing at the new highly priority project as he muttered under his breath, not knowing Adam was standing behind him. What the hell is he thinking? 1 week, is he expecting a miracle? "Yeah, he must be a complete idiot," Adam replied, and Vort stopped dead, looked at him, and then smiled. "Yeah, you are. What can I help you with?" "Oh, there are more projects. I bought you a new cloning machine. Here is the new project that I was thinking about." He put it in the memory storage, and the computer showed the planet with the projected sea levels. Then several islands were highlighted, between 80,000 to 150,000 square kilometers. "I want each of these islands to reflect a specific homeworld. People are going to miss home, so this one will be Tufan. That one should be Haran, and so forth. There are 20 of these islands besides the continent, so you need to make projects for it. Use the students if you want. Oh, and I have a present." He called a science droid for him. "This is Darwin. He will be your personal assistant." The metal droid slowly turned into an old Charles Darwin as he spoke. "You can change his looks if you want, but he currently only has famous human scientists stored. You can change the age as well. Have fun. I'm going to sleep." Adam laughed manically as he left, but stopped as Vort simply shook his head and didn't get the joke. He slept for a whole day, and when he woke, he was met by York in the admin. "Why didn't you tell me that your engineered droids are made of nanotech that can print simple structures?" Adam sighed. He had feared that. "Because it takes a lot of energy, and you need all the materials ready before they start, and I fear what you will do with that knowledge." York grinned. "The factory will finish in 2 days to produce in 2 days. Production will be 100 per hour. So who do we send to deliver because it won't be you? We must build more buildings before we let you loose. You might come home with 1,000 new settlers." Adam grinned. "I have to go to introduce the new droids. I'll try not to come back with that many." Vortz looked at him from his desk and shook his head, focusing on Project City, dome or underground. "Domed. And make it one of those farm villages. We are going to need more of them. You got about a month." "Goddamn Chaos Walker, I want to say it can't be done, but I know you will make me do it anyway." Adam laughed and stopped. "I need a cat to stroke. I can't be an evil villain without one." The crew looked confused at each other, and Adam realized that the administration was now filled with workers who did different work. One of the farmers was remotely overlooking the farms, and students were working on controlling the nitrogen program, among other things. So he left to find something to do. How did he end up with so many people working for him? He checked his credit account and saw it had grown. He had spent over 5 million credit, and his investments in the pre-sales of the droid had eaten up the loss and increased his wealth, not to mention the pre-sales of the drones York had made. He went to the farm dome and looked at the crop, then started to work, helping the workers. He needed to do something else than think. Yeah, some hard work with dirt would be good.